In the sun-scorched valley of Elah, two great armies faced each other, poised for a battle that would echo through the ages. On one side, the armies of Israel, led by their anxious King Saul. On the other, the formidable Philistines, confident in their might. For 40 days a shadow had fallen over the Israelite camp, a shadow cast by one man, Goliath of Gath. Every morning and every evening, he would stride out from the Philistine lines, his bronze armor glinting in the harsh light. He was a giant, a mountain of a man, nearly 10 feet tall. His spear was like a weaver's beam, and the head of it weighed 600 shekels of iron. His voice, a deep and mocking roar, boomed across the valley. "Why have you come out to line up for battle?" he would taunt. "Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man for yourselves and let him come down to me. If he is able to fight with me and kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall be our servants and serve us. I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together." Hearing his words, Saul and all of Israel were dismayed and terrified. Not a single warrior, not one hero among them, dared to answer the challenge. Fear was a cold blanket over their camp. Hope was a flickering candle in a hurricane. Meanwhile, miles away in the quiet town of Bethlehem, a young shepherd named David was tending his father's flock. He was the youngest of 8 sons, ruddy and with beautiful eyes, a boy more familiar with a harp and a sling than a sword and shield. His 3 eldest brothers were with Saul's army, and his father, Jesse, was worried about them. One day Jesse called David. "Take this roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers," he said, "and run to the camp. See how they are doing, and bring back some token from them." So David rose early in the morning, left the sheep with a keeper, and set off as his father had commanded. He arrived at the camp just as the army was going out to the battle formation, shouting the war cry. He ran to the battle line, found his brothers, and greeted them. As he was talking with them, the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, came up from the ranks of the Philistines and spoke the same taunting words as before. And David heard them. When the men of Israel saw Goliath, they fled from him in great fear. They whispered among themselves, "Have you seen this man who has come up? Surely he has come to defy Israel. The king will greatly enrich the man who kills him, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel." David turned to the men standing near him. "What shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" His eldest brother Eliab overheard him, and his anger was kindled against David. "Why have you come down here? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your presumption and the evil of your heart, for you have come down to see the battle." But David was not deterred. "What have I done now? Was it not just a question?" He turned away from his brother and continued asking the same thing, and the people answered him as before. The words David spoke were overheard and reported to King Saul, who sent for him. When David was brought before the king, he said with a confidence that startled everyone, "Let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine." Saul looked at the young shepherd, barely a man, and said, "You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth, and he has been a man of war from his youth." David's reply was firm, rooted not in arrogance, but in faith and experience. "Your servant used to keep sheep for his father, and when a lion or a bear came and took a lamb from the flock, I went after him and struck him and delivered it out of his mouth. And if he rose against me, I caught him by his beard, and struck him and killed him. Your servant has struck down both lions and bears, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be like one of them, for he has defied the armies of the living God." He continued, his voice resonating with conviction. "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul, moved by the young man's unwavering faith, finally relented. "Go, and the Lord be with you." He then tried to dress David in his own armor. He put a helmet of bronze on his head and clothed him with a coat of mail. David strapped on Saul's sword and tried to walk, but he couldn't. He was not used to them. "I cannot go with these," he said to Saul, "for I have not tested them." So David took them off. Instead, he took his shepherd's staff in his hand. He went to the nearby stream and chose 5 smooth stones, placing them in his shepherd's bag. With his sling in his hand, he walked out to face the giant. Goliath, seeing the boy approaching, was filled with contempt. "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" he bellowed. And he cursed David by his gods. "Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the field." But David's voice, though not as loud, carried a power far greater. "You come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. And I will give the dead bodies of the host of the Philistines this day to the birds of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel, and that all this assembly may know that the Lord saves not with sword and spear. For the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand." As Goliath moved to attack, David did not hesitate. He ran quickly toward the battle line to meet the Philistine. Reaching into his bag, he took out a stone. He put it in his sling and began to whirl it faster and faster, a blur of motion. He let it fly. The stone sang through the air, true and straight. It struck the Philistine on his forehead, sinking deep. The giant swayed, his eyes wide with shock, and then he crashed to the ground face down. A stunned silence fell over the valley, broken only by the sound of David running. He stood over the fallen giant, and since he had no sword of his own, he drew Goliath's massive sword from its sheath and used it to end the Philistines' defiance forever. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they turned and fled. The men of Israel and Judah rose with a great shout and pursued them, their fear replaced by a triumphant courage ignited by one boy's faith. The battle was won, not by the mightiest warrior, but by a young shepherd who trusted in a power greater than any giant. The sling spun faster and faster, a blur of motion, a whisper of wind, a prayer carried in leather. Goliath thundered forward, his armor blazing like a storm of bronze. He raised his spear high, ready to crush the boy who dared to challenge him. And then David released the stone. It flew through the air like a flash of divine fire. No soldier could see it clearly. It was too swift, too precise. Only the sound, a single sharp crack, broke the silence. The stone struck true. It sank deep into Goliath's forehead. The giant's eyes widened, disbelief and terror frozen in them. And then the colossus stumbled. For one breath, the world stood still. The earth itself seemed to wait. Then the mighty Goliath fell, face down upon the ground, his armor ringing like thunder as dust rose around him. The sound echoed across the valley, a single crash that shattered 40 days of fear. The Philistines' laughter died in their throats. The Israelites gasped, unable to move. David stood there, chest heaving, eyes wide with awe. He had no sword, no shield, only a sling, a stone, and unshakable faith. He walked forward silent and steady, and stood beside the fallen giant. Then, taking Goliath's own massive sword, he lifted it with both hands, and with one powerful strike ended the battle forever. The valley that had once echoed with mockery now roared with victory. The armies of Israel erupted in shouts, their faith rekindled like wildfire. Across the hills the Philistines turned and fled, their proud champion defeated by the hand of a shepherd. And in that sacred moment, as the dust settled and the sun broke through the clouds, David looked toward the heavens and whispered, "All glory to the Lord, who delivers without sword or spear. The battlefield lay still." Smoke and dust drifted through the valley where fear once reigned, and there at its center stood a shepherd boy, his sling at his side, his gaze lifted toward heaven. The soldiers of Israel rushed past him, chasing the fleeing Philistines, their cries of triumph rolling like thunder across the hills. But David did not move. He knelt beside Goliath's fallen form, his chest rising and falling in silence. He knew this victory was not his. It belonged to God. When the army returned, they lifted David upon their shoulders. Even King Saul came down from his tent, his eyes filled with wonder. He asked, "Whose son are you, young man?" And David, still dusty from battle and glowing with faith, replied, "I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem." The name would soon echo through all of Israel, the shepherd who believed when no one else dared, the boy who faced the impossible and triumphed through faith. In the days that followed, songs spread across the land. Saul has slain his thousands, but David his tens of thousands. And though many would come to envy him, David never forgot that moment in the valley, when one stone and one prayer changed the course of a nation. He would still return to the fields from time to time, to play his harp under the same stars that had once watched him tend his sheep. There he would whisper the words that filled his heart. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul." For David had learned the greatest truth of all, that true strength is not in the sword, nor in the armor of kings, but in a heart that trusts completely in God. And so began the legend of David, the shepherd who became a warrior, the warrior who became a king, and the king whose faith would live forever.